Hello, and you are listening to the Book Was Better podcast, the podcast where we talk about the book of the film. I'm Luke.
Hello.
That's Lizzy. And this week we're talking about Terminator 3, Rise
Something.
of the Machines.
Robot kills.
Kills!
Hey you, put down the popcorn and turn on the light. It's gonna be alright, my friend. In the end, take my hand. Trust me, the book was better.
Killing all the robots. Holy crap, so we did Terminator 1 and 2.
We did, yep.
And it only stands to reason that the third installment in the series is going to be even better than those two put together.
Yeah,
Because
well,
1 plus 2 is 3.
Hang on, hold on. 1. Yes, correct.
That's the mathematics of movie magic.
Yeah, well, it's got to be better.
Movie
Otherwise, why would they make it?
Magic mathematics.
Nope. Move along. Move along.
Yeah, referee says no. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Always such a treat to have you back.
I know, I'm great.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're going to
always,
smash this.
always thrilling.
And Luke is super, super spacey today.
No, I'm fine. I'm amped. I'm gonna... Because how could you be spacey when reading the 450-page Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines? A 450-page novel based on an 80-minute film which consists of 3 action scenes loosely strung together.
That's so true. And I was thinking about this as I was reading the book, that I think the first daughter, I think I was reading it about the same pace as the film.
Yeah.
So it only took like the film's length to get through it. But this was a journey.
Was a really good opportunity to skim. Because if you've seen the film, there is literally just 3 action sequences, which are prefaced by 2 Terminators arrive.
Yep.
Then it's Crazy Crane car chase.
Yep.
Then there's shootout in the cemetery.
Oh, yeah, yep.
Then there's shootout in government facility with robots.
Yep.
And the end. Oh, and then Judgment Day. Bam.
Yeah, but you don't even get to see Judgment Day.
No, and
Spoilers.
that's the entire film. It's a very small film. Even though they got Schwarzenegger back, they put him up against the new Terminator, who we're going to meet very soon. And it's a small kind of episodic outing with very little dialogue, actually.
That's true, yeah.
So when you see this mammoth 450-page book, you realise straight away that something is amiss. That it's not all going to be nutritious inside this package.
Yeah, you think it's mostly made by seafood extender rather than actual crab meat.
Yeah, there's some sawdust in this meatloaf. Because we've read plenty of books with padding, but I reckon this is the primer.
Yeah.
This is like...
This is the how-to.
Yeah.
How to really draw it out.
This is a padded bra and padded 80s shoulder pads on Paddington Bear.
That is a lot of padding.
That's so much padding. So we've got quite a bit. Shall we, at risk of us padding and drawing this adventure out any longer than we need to, maybe we should dive in to T3, as I like to call it.
Yep, T3. Shorten it right down. You don't need those pesky Terminator,
Steve Terminator. Well, I'm looking forward to catching up with Steve Terminator anyway, seeing what
he's
he's
our good friend.
been up to.
Good
Because you
friend of the
remember,
podcast.
that first book was written by Sean Hudson.
Yeah.
Who is fucking crazy. That was the one with very explicit X-rated sex scenes where we got to find out all about Sarah Connor's clitoris.
Informative. Like,
Yeah.
I learnt a lot from that book.
And also had incredibly horrible, gory violence, including Porridge Boy,
Yes.
the young boy who was turned into a porridge-like consistency.
Yep, Valet. Porridge Boy.
And Terminator 2 was very toned down by comparison, but was still a bit of a crazy adventure.
It was colourful.
Yeah. And Terminator 3 is, well, you're going to find out. It don't think 1 plus 2 equals 3 this time.
Hold on to your leather pants, because this is going to get real.
Yeah, hold on to them because what all these films do have in common is a naked man requesting your pants.
Yeah.
Yeah, got to hold on pretty tight to those. So David Hadberg is the perpetrator.
What does he have now? He had a berg, but doesn't anymore.
That one didn't hit either. Now we're 0 all.
Equals. Okay.
Okay.
So David Hadberg, what's his story?
I went to Wikipedia and it warned me that this article appears to be written like an advertisement. Please improve it by rewriting promotional content from a neutral point of view and removing any inappropriate external links.
Oh, okay. How come?
Well, this is my favourite quote. Hagberg's style has been described, citation needed, as a cross between Tom Clancy and Ian Fleming. His thrillers generally feature a combination of technical detail, timely plots, and super spy heroics that are sometimes almost prophetic in their accuracy.
Wow.
So he sounds pretty amazing, doesn't he?
Okay, hearing this description of his writing style, I agree with that. With the idea that it's got a lot of technical detail.
I think that he is the Parker Lewis of authors in the sense that he cannot lose, and we cannot lose by reading this book. Because he has very inventively named thrillers like White House.
Uh-huh.
That's where the president lives, not just the White House.
Oh, so the White House,
Yeah.
capital letters.
Joshua's Hammer.
The Joshua's Hammer?
Yeah, not just some, tradesman called Joshua. This is the big, Joshua.
Yeah.
From...
I'm familiar with him because of his hammer.
He has a tree, too.
Yes.
Still 0 all. The Kill Zone.
Uh-huh.
It's a zone where you take people if you want to kill them. Very intense. Soldier of God.
Okay.
Fancy way of saying Jesus.
Jesus?
Yeah. Allah's Scorpion.
He's got the whole gamut here.
Yeah, and a Dance with the Dragon.
Now that's one I want to read.
Yeah.
I want to find out how to do that.
Yeah.
In precise technical detail.
Very dangerous.
How does one dance with a dragon?
Best to pad your face if you're going to dance cheek to cheek. It's very scaly.
That's very true.
Still 0 all. This will be a good one for Tim the Stats keeper. So the beginning is a prologue set in July 2029 outside what was Colorado Springs, Colorado.
See, that's good detail right there.
Yeah.
Sets it right up outside what was Colorado Springs.
I wish that, July 2029, post Judgment Day, that it was set in Radiator Springs, where cars have taken over as the dominant life form. And a certain Lightning McQueen is in trouble with the law.
That would be so good.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, okay, instead of doing this podcast, let's go write that book.
Okay. Yeah, that explains it. Because I always how does the cars with no hands raise the flagpole in that scene?
I know.
Liquid metal.
That makes so much more sense now.
Yeah.
Because I've had to watch Cars. Well, I've had to watch the first 10 minutes of Cars about 1,000,000 times because of my nephew. That's as far as he goes. Just that first 10 minutes.
That's all you need.
Well, that's the most exciting bit.
Yeah.
After that, it's all, raising flagpoles and whatever. But a lot of that doesn't make any sense to me because they don't have hands.
That's right.
They don't have thumbs. How are they changing each other's tyres?
And I'm sure I've said this before on the podcast, but if you open up their doors, would you be looking at their brains and or internal organs?
Gross.
Would blood just pour out like the elevator in The Shining?
Oh, that's awful.
Because they don't have passengers, so why do they have doors?
I don't know. I don't know.
If you think we're stretching this now and that we're avoiding, just wait until you'll see someone avoiding the film right now in the prologue, because none of this happens in the film.
No. Well, this might come back. This might be an ongoing thing because there are cars later on in the film.
Holy shit! I never thought of that that. But you're right.
And cars that drive themselves.
That must have been where they got the idea for a film called Cars, is because they saw cars in Terminator 3. Rise of the Machines.
You're making fun of me now.
The machines they're referring to are cars.
You're making fun of me now, but when we get to that point in the film, You're going to be eating your hat words, my friend.
My hat. I
Yeah.
have a hat right here made of words.
You're going to eat it.
Sort of like a noodle basket.
Eat it like a burger.
And I'm going to down that thing if you are correct.
Yeah.
I'm thinking it might be fax machines, washing machines, but we'll find out. Travel anywhere for humans had become next to impossible over the last 20 years with the intensification of the machine wars.
Human settlements, sometimes hanging on only by sheer determination, were critically important because they were the last pockets of resistance.
The grease pockets of resistance.
They were also important because of the sharp decrease in the human birth rate. Who wanted to bring a child into a world of chaos, death, and destruction? These days, the sparks of human existence were reduced to dim flickers around the world.
The Center for Machine Activity and Skynet Control was 2,000 feet beneath Navajo Mountain near the Continental Divide west of the Colorado Springs. The installation had been home to the old U.S. military installations. Since Judgment Day, when Skynet started and conducted the global thermonuclear war that all but wiped human beings off the face of the earth, Navajo Mountain had become the primary target for the human resistance. Way to spoil the whole ending before it even begins.
Yeah, well, I guess we don't have to read the rest of the book now.
This story about John Connor eventually hiding in the Navajo Mountains to avoid Judgment Day.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
that's kind of the climax.
Yeah, and it's the big reveal at the end as well.
Yeah. But, no, Hadberg, no time for that bullshit. He's
No.
put it right in on the first page.
No, get in there. And, okay, another thing that really put me off straight away in this opening sequence is the inconsistencies between this future, the T3 future, and the T2 novelization writer's future. Who are they?
He was a stand-up guy.
Some dude. So in the T2 novelization, they talked about how people were just like going at it all the time. If they weren't killing robots, they were having sex. Just
Yeah.
all the time because of all of the like, oh, life is so uncertain, let's just get it on. But T3, everyone's like, oh, no, I'm too scared of the future. I'm just going to sit here moping instead.
I've got a headache.
Yeah. So which one is it, guys? Come on. Chaos, death, and destruction makes people cautious breeders, or does it make them go crazy, go nuts for each other, and just... I made a hand gesture of sex right there.
Yeah. That was 2 men.
Yeah, well, that's what I think about all the time.
Yeah. Rubbing their bell ends together.
Yeah, sword fighting.
I'm wondering why they didn't ring. Bell and zero.
Let's move it on.
What do you think? Like, in this situation, cars have taken over the world. You're, one of the few human beings left, cowering in a cave above Radiator Springs.
Yep.
Would you err on the side of caution, or would you bang like a barn door in the wind?
Well, here's the thing. Robots have taken over the world.
Yeah.
There's no internet.
Yeah,
What else are you going to do?
true.
You may as well.
Yeah. Can't download porn, you may as well make your own.
Exactly.
Hey, Mater, you reckon we could borrow your back seat? Just for a little bit. Oh, this is full of organs.
Well, he's a ute, right?
Oh,
So
that's true.
You got that flatbed.
Oh, so Mater's the one to make friends with.
Yeah.
I reckon he would befriend the humans. He's the kind of guy that, he'd go out and one of the more suspicious cars would be like, where you been today? And he's like, oh, nowhere, yuck. I'd just been like, looking at the cows and stuff. But he's really been like driving humans up to old Inspiration Point.
Man, we are nailing this.
I'll talk about anything to not talk about T3.
So what happens next?
And it appears this prologue is actually a short story about Joel Benson.
Who?
Joel Benson, from Terminator 3, played by no one because he's not in the film. He's the first Resistance Ranger, and his plan is to drop a 5-kiloton suitcase-sized nuclear demolition device down the shaft to explode in the inner chamber of Skynet's AI. Kill the brain, and the body would, of necessity, stop functioning. Just like the battle droids in Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
Classic.
And in Toy Story 2 or 3, in the opening sequence, which I have also seen a million
The
times.
video game sequence.
Yeah,
Toy
yeah.
Story 2.
Toy Story 2. They all just shut down as well.
Yep. Kill the one.
Yeah.
They're all like bees. Is that what happens with bees?
Yeah, yeah.
Like if you're getting stung.
yeah.
But some people back away from the hive.
Yeah.
I would just put my hand right in the middle and squeeze that queen to death, and all the other bees drop
Just
out of
drop.
the sky.
That's probably what's happening now.
Yeah.
People like you going around.
Yeah.
Another thing that this works for is zombies.
Is that right?
In any of your usual zombie films, you have to kill the brain and the body would necessarily stop functioning.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I've seen that.
Also vampires, I think.
You kill the head vampire, and all the other vampires turn into dust?
Yes.
Okay.
I think in some vampire lore, if you kill a vampire, all of the vampire babies that came from that vampire get dusted.
Yeah. Werewolves too? What about Frankensteins?
No, Frankensteins are their own thing.
What about chickens? Like, if you had a chicken farm
Yeah,
and you killed a chicken,
yeah.
do all the other chickens just, like, drop to the floor?
Depends which chicken you kill.
You gotta kill the rooster, right? He's the,
no,
he's the
'cause-
cock of the walk.
Yeah, but you don't need a rooster to make an egg.
Is that right?
Yeah, chickens,
like
chickens
just
pop them out anyway.
Yeah. But you need one for a fertilised egg.
I'm not sure about that. That seems like it's something that would be true because of biology.
Can anyone fertilise an egg, or does it have to be a rooster?
I kind of remember reading somewhere that maybe you need a rooster, but they don't actually need to do anything. They just kind of need to be around.
Do you think we should warn people on the Facebook page that they should clear some space on their iPods or iPhones?
Look, I told them to hold on to their leather pants. That's warning enough.
That's true. Now, look, he's definitely one of these authors that's more obsessed with tech than people. Like,
Yep.
before we learn too much about Benson,
Yep.
we learn that he raised his vintage Steiner mil-specs light-intensifying binoculars to study the broad road,
What?
and that cyber research systems T-15 and T-17 warrior robots armed with 50 caliber depleted uranium chain guns capable of firing nearly 3,000 rounds per minute. I could read stuff like that all day.
I couldn't.
Sometimes I'm like, I'll get an old car manual out of someone's glove compartment and I'll just read that.
That's good. That's good practice for when the cars finally rise up.
Yeah, but I don't take it in.
This kind of like really precise detail kind of makes me feel like instead of a story that I'm reading, somebody wrote this novel for fun. I'm reading somebody's personal fantasy where they're like, this is my favorite kind of light intensifying binoculars, so I need that detail in there. Like if I was Benson, that's what I would be doing.
I feel like I'm reading a mass shooter's manifesto.
Yeah. I felt that way when I read the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo one, where it has all of that really weird and really detailed product placement, like links to websites and everything in case you wanted the hacker.
It's got
program.
some coupons you can cut out for a discount in
Yeah.
the centre.
Exactly.
And when he does get to Benson's backstory, it's really rushed and impersonal.
Payback time, Benson thought, pulling back below the ridgeline. Not only for the people on the road and the untold hundreds and thousands of millions around the world, hundreds and thousands of millions, but for his own wife, Jane, and their 3 children killed in a machine ambush 3 years ago in the San Bernardino massacre.
Yeah, way to bury the lead when talking about all your crazy bullets and stuff when your family has died in a shower of them.
Yeah.
Wow, poor Jane. I can't believe Jane, the fictional wife of this fictional guy that doesn't even appear in the fictional film.
Yeah.
And their 3 fictional children.
Yeah.
All died. That upsets me right from the beginning because all of these characters are clearly very relatable.
Yep. And very important to the plot.
But then he does talk about how good looking and awesome Benson is, although sometimes he wore a bitter halo because of how his family had died.
Characterizations. Other times he wore his salty halo. Special occasions, umami halo.
Now that sounds like a kind of gross group internet fetish thing.
Umami halo.
No, the other one, like, I'm going to get 8 friends around and we're going to give her a salty halo.
Oh my god. Yep. Moving on.
1-0. So look, Hagberg, he wants us to learn about Corporal Simon Anders and Bill Taggart and Dr. Donald Hess, who he describes as an egghead. Smart people, am I right?
The worst.
Like, I'm not going to spend time learning about characters that aren't even in the fucking film, and even the padding has padding.
Hess studied the graveyard for several long minutes, humming something to himself. Some toneless melody that was actually Tchaikovsky's violin concerto in D minor with a full orchestra in his head. He always listened to that concerto while he was thinking.
Like, it's like Hagberg's there going, yes, extra words! I am nailing this! I just got, like, I chose a song. Like, it could have been, like, humming, something with a 2-word title.
Yeah, exactly.
Uptown Girl.
Uptown Girl, yeah.
But instead, it's Tchaikovsky's violin concerto in D minor with a full orchestra.
Yeah.
And then another sentence to talk about it even more.
That's what makes me, like, it sounds like this is just Hagberg's life transplanted onto all of these different characters.
True.
So what do you think about, what music do you hear when you're thinking? If you had asked me what music you listen to, that would have been it. That's what I would have predicted.
How about yourself?
I hear the thinking song from Blue's Clues.
Oh. Steve from Blue's Clues went on to do some songwriting music.
Yeah, I have his album.
Oh, do you?
It's pretty good.
I've only heard some of his Giants covers, but I like.
The album was produced by one of the Flaming Lips guys, apparently.
I thought you were going to say by Blue.
No,
I'm going to be like, so they both went on to do two different things. So they're making something even better than the T1000 down here in this factory is found.
Yeah.
The T1001, now with a new hat, perhaps.
Yeah.
And Tony's head disintegrates in a blue laser flash.
Yep.
She was the girl.
Tony, who are these people?
And finally, Benson died with his wife's name on his lips, but with the vision from hell of Skynet's newest warrior robot on his retinas. I thought, isn't that kind of like cheating on his wife?
Because of the robots in his retinas.
Yeah, like his wife's name, but he was looking at this sexy robot. That's the last thing he was thinking about when he died.
Hey, like, sometimes you need a little something to get you over the line.
That's true.
So, we've been really, really down on this opening section so far. The 2 minutes that we've actually talked about
it, yeah.
Opening section. But I reckon, compared to the film's opening, this is streets ahead better. This is so much more interesting, apart from all of the technical detail. Because the film's opening is just John Connor narrating, which firstly, no thanks, narrating how terrible everything is or isn't, because he isn't really the savior of the world, and what's he going to do with his life, and it's so terrible that like all of this terrible stuff hasn't actually happened. I'm going to be a drifter forever. And I hated him so much so quickly.
Yeah. This is it's 2003 Los Angeles, and it's the wretched looking hobo John Connor as portrayed by Nick Stahl.
Mm-hmm. Who?
You know, Nick Stahl.
Is he one of the X-Men's? In the X-Men's?
Star-Lord, man! Star-Lord.
Star-Lord.
Star-Lord. No.
I get it.
Didn't hit. And he's described as, I like this, a man on the run from himself.
Oh, yeah. That's a good pickup line.
Better than the man with the runs on himself.
2 for O.
Oh. And look, it turns out Judgment Day, it never came. So
Yeah.
Connor now is a drifter with absolutely no purpose. So, and he has, like you said, dreams of this machine apocalypse. But he's all dressed up with nowhere to go. And he thinks about his predicament for at least 10 pages.
But 10 pages where it's not actually explained. Like, I was looking to this book, this really long book. I was expecting that it would go into a lot of backstory, a lot of explanations, a lot of those explanations where some character says something dumb and then the author says, oh, that character really thought it was dumb.
Yeah.
But none of that really happens. It really is just 10 pages of, and then he was a bit sad.
Yeah,
And he continued to
it's
be
really
sad.
just describing the montage that happens at the beginning of the film.
Yes, disappointed so far with the treatment here.
And oh shit, no.
Uh-oh.
We then go back to July 2030. I thought that was just a prologue. I thought we were done with that.
Oh,
Because this doesn't happen in the film either.
no.
So it's more imagine future short stories. Now with old John Connor, more proof that Judgment Day did happen, which kind of robs past hobo John's predicament of any intrigue at all.
Yeah.
Because he's like, Judgment Day didn't happen. I don't know what's going to happen. Well, let's cut to you old after Judgment Day happened.
Yeah. And they're starting to send, in the book, they're starting to send the Terminator back. But in the film, the Terminator later on says that John Connor was dead at that time. So how would he been involved in that preparation?
I'm impressed by this catch that you did.
Man, I'm on the ball
Because
here.
I didn't catch that.
Well, what can I say?
But wait, because somebody else did.
Really?
We'll get there.
Oh, intrigue.
So, as you said, yeah, they're prepping the Schwarzenegger bot to go back. But a new character called Carter is all like, this shows how padded this thing is. He goes, it'll take me 3 minutes to install the blah, 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 which translates to about 15 pages of book. But seriously, like John goes, I'll give you 4 minutes. And then after about 3 pages of technobabble as to how the time travel might work, John goes, okay, your 4 minutes starts now. And I'm like, it didn't start like 4 pages ago? The fuck?
Also, that's the worst kind of haggling. I need 3 minutes. I'll give you 4.
Yeah. How about 6?
Just get it done in a slightly longer time than you need.
That's the kind of haggling that the principal in the Breakfast Club would do.
And all of this technobabble stuff, like, it explains the theory of the time travel, but in the kind of language that to a dumb arts person like me means fuck all. Means nothing at all. It's just Einstein and some other guy, and you put them together and it's quantum.
Yeah.
And to an actual scientist guy, that would be super infuriating, because it's not going to make any sense either. So why would you do this?
Quantum and like quantum physics, mechanics, etc. It really is that sort of phrase that once somebody brings it up, I'm just so lost. Like, okay, sure, because I just don't know.
Here's a pro tip for you. If you ever meet a physicist, try to make as many jokes about how something in the world proves quantum.
Okay.
You know, like, the best thing you can say to a physicist is, well, with quantum, anything's possible.
See, I don't even know how to use it in a sentence, like to
that.
even
Just
say
say
like
that.
proves quantum. Like I didn't know quantum was. Yeah.
It doesn't matter. As soon as you say something about quantum, they hate you forever.
And then there's more new characters. The most wretched of which is clear so far, boss. Sergeant Doogie Watchdog Harris came back from topside. How much longer before we can boogie?
I like that.
No, you don't.
I really want a spin-off for Sergeant Doogie Watchdog Harris.
Shouldn't he be Sergeant Boogie Watchdog if that's like what he wants to do all the time?
Doogie by name, Boogie by catchphrase.
And then more padding. They do a 10-second countdown to the machine awakening and actually count all the numbers over the course of many paragraphs.
Not even a joke, this is true.
All right, so back to July 2003.
2003.
2003.
2003.
203. And Arnie Terminator, Steve Terminator, appears in the Navajo desert with no cat-tagonist present this time.
I know.
We have a snake-tagonist instead.
This is proof. This is proof, Hollywood, that you can have diversity in casting.
But only a couple of snakes have ever won Oscars.
Well, there's still hope. There's still a way to go, but yeah, this gives me hope.
Yeah, I know.
This can happen.
I'm learning parcel tongue. All I can say so far is...
Whoa, you gonna bleep that out? That was filthy.
I know. That was very racist. So finally, a scene I recognise from the movie. Kate Brewster, played by Claire Danes, is with her fiancé, Scott, and having trouble getting a barcode scanner to work.
Yeah, here we go. Lady can't work a barcode scanner. I hope that she's not going to become integral to the technology-based global war that's coming.
Yeah, it's so ironic because she goes, I hate machines. And she doesn't realise they're about to rise, like all up over the place.
Or maybe she does. Maybe she feels it in her waters.
But you know what?
Yeah?
More importantly,
Yeah?
how hot is Kate? And what I want to know is, what are her tits like?
Well, why don't we ask the author? She caught a reflection of herself in a gold freestanding dressing room mirror. She was of medium height, pleasant figure, small high breasts, dark brown hair, a rounded nose, strong hips like her mother's. Is she looking at herself in the mirror and thinking these things? Is this some self-reflection?
Do girls do that? Do you look and like think about the boobs, or don't you like when you look in the mirror at yourself? I'm either like, oh, I'm fat or I'm old.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like
It's either of those two.
yeah. I'm either like looking at my face and going, oh, I've got wrinkles that I didn't realize, or I'm like looking at my profile and going, oh, I've eaten a lot at the moment.
If I look in the mirror, I'm looking like, do I have something on my face?
Yeah, I'm not.
That's the thing. Either something on my face, not something on my face. Good to go.
I'm not going like, nice package,
Nice package.
pretty firm.
Yep. Is it? Wait, what did? Small high package?
Oh, no, I wouldn't say that.
Round nose package?
No.
So we're starting to talk about some of the casual sexism in this book now. So why don't we continue on with that? Now that we've got how hot Kate is and what her tits are like, we continue on to describe her personality. Katie, the nicest girl at Ferris High, her pals in school had written about her. Not Catherine the most beautiful, or Catherine the most likely to succeed, or the most likely to marry Mr. Up-and-Coming, the next president, the next multi-billionaire. Nope. She's none of that. She's not a trophy wife, not likely to become a trophy wife, not likely to be the next president's wife. She's just, like, a nice person.
In her yearbook, I would have
What
just
a
written,
downer.
sweet tits, Kate.
Stay sweet tits.
And more padding. Let's spend time learning about Scott the fiance's height and what kind of car he drives. And then let's go through his resume for a page. And then Kate talks to her general dad for about 6 pages.
Not a specific dad, just
And
a
then we
general one.
cut to the general and we get the resume of his project's chief engineer, Tony Flicklinger.
Flicklinger, what a great name. All this elaborate backstory of everybody who nobody cares about. But then there's also all of these shortcuts that he uses as well. But General Brewster was worried. At War College, they'd studied worst-case scenarios in which US strategic defense initiatives became short-circuited so that the nation's nuclear release authority was bypassed. War College?
I've seen enough high school movies in America, like Kazam, to know that like it's like war high school. Some of those toilets don't even have doors. Kids carry knives. Assault weapons.
But War College?
Yeah.
That's
after
like-
you've been to war high school.
Oh, maybe this is just my...
Hope you're not being cynical about the heroes that protect our freedoms.
No, I'm just cynical about the name of the college.
Because they protect our freedoms.
Oh, I wouldn't even go
And
there.
without
No
them,
way.
we're not free.
No.
So we wouldn't be able to do this.
No, definitely
Somebody
not.
would walk in and go, hey, stop that right now.
Somebody probably should.
Yeah, maybe today could be a good idea. That's the one. Do you reckon this is my theory on how Hagberg comes up with the name Tony Flicklinger?
Okay, yeah.
He's going, look at this new character, Tony, and then he, on his lap, because he's a writer, this is at home, he's got a big bucket of KFC,
Yeah.
and he takes a bite, and then he sucks the grease off his fingers, and he goes, oh, this is finger licking good. And then he goes, Flicklinger.
Yeah.
Maybe he even stumbled, maybe his mouth full, and he said, oh, this is linger flicking good.
Maybe he was trying to type that, but he messed it up and just...
Because his
Like, move
fingers
on.
were just
Keep going.
sliding all over the keyboard because of the grease on the tips.
Mm.
Then we go back to the future where the Terminatrix, that's the new Terminator, the TX, is still preparing to go back to the past.
Oh, wait, is it called TX because Terminatrix with an X on the end?
Yeah,
Oh, I just got that now.
yeah. And this is a task that she manages to do in the first few minutes of the movie,
Yeah.
but we get to go into the future where they sort of send her all there.
Yep.
And Parsons lays dead on the ground, which is sad because apparently he misses out on what is some sweet, top-class naked lady.
Between them, walking flat-footed, back arched, head held high as if she were a soldier being escorted by the Praetorian Guard, what would...
Was what?
Was what Parsons would have considered the most perfect nude woman he'd ever seen. But Parsons was dead, and Skynet was indifferent to considerations of human beauty, except where such considerations were germane to the parameters of a mission. She was a TX, Enhanced Logic Weapons System Cybernetic Warrior/Infiltration Unit. TX for short.
Yeah, she was a 9 on the Parsons scale.
Yep.
And he'd seen a lot of nude women in his time.
Yeah.
He'd seen some great ones. Adorned with her infiltration trappings, muscles, sinews, blood vessels, skin, hair, TX would be just as deadly among the pre-Judgment Day human population as she was on the current battlefields. I just can't get my head around the robots constructing this lady and what she would actually look like, because they've given her this idea of human beauty, I suppose, but then later on she sees that Victoria's Secret billboard and kind of goes, oh, so this is what men find attractive? Like, that wasn't programmed in her?
Yeah.
And do, like, they sew, like, are there robots that sew pubic hair into, like, a female robot? Or do they, like, is there a robot that researches it and goes, oh no, like, we're going to put it in this style? I guess you could say the same for Schwarzenegger. He walks around naked as well.
Well, this film was supposed to have a scene explaining why Steve Terminator looks like Steve Terminator. Apparently it was based on one of the sergeants in General Brewster's command.
Yeah, which is going to be all shot to shit, apparently, in the next Terminator film, Terminator Genesis,
Yeah.
that they're going to make. Because I think Schwarzenegger's an old human in that.
Ooh.
And they like his chutzpah, so they turned him into a robot.
Well, it's lucky that they didn't film it then. They cut that out.
But it's still in the book, Lizzie, and that bugs me.
Sorry.
It's just like when Chewbacca got hit by a planet and killed, and now they're like, oh, that didn't happen. And I'm like, yes, it happened. He got hit by a planet.
But anyway, she's made out of liquid metal stuff. They're not robots sewing pubic hair onto each
So
other.
does she, like...
I don't know, man. It doesn't make sense.
Maybe
Science
she mixes
fiction.
it up. Because I swear, just as much as the lack of hands and doors on the cars, in cars bugs me, the whole pubic hair situation of this lady robot just confuses me.
Well, does Steve Terminator have pubic hair? Because we get a shot of that, don't we? We see a bit of the front.
I reckon
area
he's got
in one
a
of the
pretty
frames.
wild Austrian gruff down there. But yeah... So I guess, but he's not liquid, so they definitely were sewing it into him.
That's true.
They were rooting the hair in like a doll.
Yeah. Wow, yeah. There's going to be a robot, and that's their job.
So maybe they just like, I don't know, but it's out in the open. People are going to see it from the moment she comes out. It's not like she can kind of figure it out later on. Maybe he'll like this.
Maybe it's, like, decoratively shaped into just, like, an angry face.
A T3.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, it's Valentine's Day, and it forms a heart.
Yeah.
Back to 2003, or 203, as I like to call it,
Yep.
where finally the TX arrives. 40 minutes into our podcast, this is about 3 minutes into the film. TX sets her sights on Nancy Nebel, N-E-B-E-L.
Nebel?
But,
Doesn't matter, because she's going to die.
well, it does matter to me, because I want to know, how hot is she? And perhaps more importantly, what is she wearing under her clothes?
Blonde, blue-eyed, with a knockout figure, she was dressed this evening in a rust-coloured leather jacket and skin-tight pants, beneath which she wore a black lace thong and lace wonderbra. Why give 'em brains when all they wanted was cleavage, was her motto.
Hagberg must be a hit with the ladies, right?
It makes me so angry.
And if anyone listening doesn't think that's sexist, or like, why didn't Hagberg do this for the other characters, like General Dad? Mm-hmm. Like, why not say he wore a crisp blue military uniform adorned with stars and stripes? Underneath were a weathered pair of yellowing Y fronts that were strained in the rear from years of abuse.
It's getting hot in here now. So we've had two female characters in quick succession. Both express a dislike for technology. We've had Kate say, oh, I don't like machines. And Nancy, whatever her face is trying to use an ATM. And the text says she'd never had much luck with machines, partly because she wasn't interested, and partly because that's what men were supposed to do for a girl. Why? Why is this necessary? This character in the film, she's just in a car and then she gets killed. She has, like, 2 lines. But this whole elaborate backstory of Nancy and finding out what she thinks about Wonder Bras and what... Why is that necessary to the story?
Well, we know why it's necessary for the book, which is, I guess, it's about really trying to... And we see it with all the adult novelizations. It's about trying to reach a page number that makes it look like the adult version. Because if you just wrote this straight up, it would be the junior novelization, which is tricky for what I assume was like an M-rated movie, even though it's pretty light on the violence or blood or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I just...
There are so many other things that you could have done with that character. Like, she could have been an engineer fixing the ATM, on her off day. She just walks past and she's like, I know how to fix that, but she doesn't because it's the virus. But, there are so many other ways that you could have tackled this character to give them the colour, to give the interest to the story. Why does it always have to go straight to the breasts and how dumb they are? It just makes me angry in my lady heart.
I'm sorry, Liz. I'm just thinking about the TX's tits. Have we heard them described yet? Because I feel like we probably should.
Okay, yeah.
TX stopped at the driver's side door and Nancy looked up at her makeup-free, totally flawless complexion. The woman's breasts were firm and perfectly formed. Her stomach was completely flat. She was perfect. Too perfect.
Too perfect.
She had 2 perfect melons.
Too perfect, yeah.
TX was not programmed to be squeamish. She dressed in the woman's clothes, including the lace underwear. Mm-hmm. I feel like that is always a bit of a gamble, putting on a stranger's underwear.
Yeah, it can't be hygienic, but then I guess she is a robot, so it probably doesn't matter.
Maybe, yeah. She's liquid metal, I suppose.
Yeah, true. Now, it's probably going to come as a shock to anybody who is still with us by this stage of the podcast. But,
yes.
I have a bit of a problem with the way that TX is fetishized here in the film, but it's so much grosser in the book. It's really so much grosser.
Dehumanizing. Like, it's definitely...
Well, she isn't human. She's a robot. So, there's that.
But even just the, fetishizing this poor Nancy's underwear all the time. Like, she's a person... just because you have a pretty face doesn't mean you don't have irritable bowel syndrome or something like that, people are people.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, oh, she's pretty, so let's put her underwear on our head and go and kill John Connor. She speeds off in the stolen car and gets pulled over by a cop, and she hatches a plan when she sees this Victoria's Secret billboard.
Mm-hmm. She was also aware of the Victoria's Secret advertisement and what its significance was vis-a-vis the human-female male sexual relationship. She flexed her shoulder and back muscles so that her breasts became more prominent.
Which is actually toned down from the film, because in the film she literally uses her liquid metal to make her tits bigger.
Yeah. I started watching this film with the actor's commentary.
Oh my god.
Yeah, just to see what it was like. And Arnie had a lot to say about that scene.
Did he say, let me guess, did he go, oh, that is so funny, look at all them boobies.
Well, kind of, yeah.
Our boobies are getting bigger, if only that was a real thing, and then I could press a button and all the boobies would be getting bigger.
Like, you're pretty close to what he says. He
I know
talks
his
about,
style.
He talks about how kind of inspirational that scene was for women. And they wanted to, know if the technology existed to do that because, some men prefer larger breasts, some men prefer smaller breasts, and being able to cater to both would be really great. It was unbelievable, the stuff that he was talking about. It was, the 3 Arnie sections that I managed to stomach before turning it off was him talking about how great it was that there was a female Terminator because he really wanted someone with a knockout figure, 10 out of 10, and a pretty face, and just a really great figure. And he goes on for about 5 minutes just listing, going over pretty face, good body, pretty face, good body. This scene with the breasts enlarging and how inspirational it was for women, and how his only concern about doing T3 was the scene where he's naked, and he would be really concerned that people would be putting up photographs of the first film and this film side by side and doing measurements on his biceps and whatever to see how he had aged in the 20 years.
I've talked about it before on the podcast, I'm sure, but my favourite commentary is Arnie on Conan.
Yeah.
Because it starts with like, hello, I'm John Milius. Not really, it's Arnold. And then John Milius is like, oh yes, I am John Milius. And he says things like, is that man wearing makeup? Is he wearing lipstick? And he's like, no, I don't believe so. Oh, because that would be funny if he was wearing lipstick.
Wow.
And he just, every time there's a bit of slapstick, he just laughs. He loves it. Look, meanwhile, John Connor had a motorbike accident.
Yeah, who cares?
Exactly. He breaks into an animal hospital for free meds.
Okay, plot point here. He's dropped out of school in year 8. He's living off the grid. How does he know which animal tranquilizers to take to fix his problem?
I don't think he does. I think he just starts popping pills. I almost felt like this was a bit of cinema verite and that Nick Stahl had just climbed in the window and started rummaging around like a raccoon and they...
Oh, that's telling, because apparently they didn't get Edward Furlong because of his substance abuse problems.
Yeah, they probably had to kick him out. He's in a cage in the background.
In this scene.
In this scene, yeah. And it is a dull scene, but here's some out-of-context comedy corner to keep us going.
He dropped his pants, cleaned the 6-inch gash. What's the count now? Like 5-0?
No, we're probably pretty even at this stage. And we haven't described Schwarzenegger yet, who is heading for a roadhouse for some clothing of his own. So this is the nude scene he was worried about.
The T-800 series, which had been modelled after US Marine Corps Chief Master Sergeant, was, in its infiltration mode, a handsome cyborg, with short dark hair, broad craggy features, prominent nose, and deep-set intense eyes. It was built with the musculature of a world-class athlete, perhaps an Iron Man gold medalist, with strong pecs, a washboard stomach, narrow waist, and massive but well-sculpted thighs and biceps. The Marine Sergeant who had been a man's man, who epitomised speed, agility, expertise, reliability, and dedication. But what were his testicles like? Were they small and high? I need to know.
Wouldn't it be great if your testicles, you could lower them down to your knees, like if you were, at a party or something, but then
So
you could
inspirational.
just tuck them up into your body when you were riding a bike. That's, a reasonably homoerotic description, but it doesn't match the love letter of his biceps and his arms that we had in previous ones.
Yeah.
I also just realised hearing you read that I don't like the passive voice in this description of where he says, perhaps an Iron Man gold medalist.
Yeah.
Just fucking commit to something. Tell me how rockin' this Schwarzenegger body is. And, oh shit. Can you believe it, Lizzie? He's gone into a strip club.
Uh-oh, gonna get in trouble.
Terminator's sensors evaluated her size. Her short denim skirt, boots, and fringed blouse might fit him, but his head-up display read inappropriate.
Lol.
A much smaller, younger redhead nearer at hand looked Terminator's body up and down, her eyes lingering on his anatomically correct groin area. A lascivious grin on her narrow face. She was a bit Max Headroom, man.
Yeah.
She was mostly inebriated. Need a date? She asked.
We'll be right back. I just need to reboot Luke.
Yeah. It's a rise of the machines. My system's crashing. Need a date? She was going to offer her date up to his anatomically correct groin area. And this is such a gross scene, both in the film and the book. The stripper's lines are, patience, honey, and whoa, bitch, wait your turn, and talk to the hand. And then, when Schwarzenegger leaves, the woman asks him if he'll be back. That's a callback.
Clever. It's clever. This is also the scene where we get the joke that was, I think, probably the catalyst for this film. Somebody thought this up and thought, yeah, we have to make the film just so that we can have that moment where, all leathered up, he gets the sunglasses out of the pocket, puts them on, but they're star-shaped and sparkly.
Yeah, they do this thing. And it's a joke that continues. You look at the Tooth Fairy. What if Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was wearing a tutu? Because he's a big tough guy.
Yep.
But if he was wearing a tutu, audience would laugh. But the thing is, by this stage, Schwarzenegger's been pregnant in a Danny DeVito film. He's done all
worn a Hawaiian shirt.
sorts of ridiculous stuff. Like, he was in fucking Jingle All the Way. Just doesn't have the same impact. So the TX is going around eliminating targets who, spoilers, will be John Connor's future lieutenants or something.
Yeah.
Here is the first charming character.
So, except for the good sex, Bill Anderson decided that he was starting to get real tired of Tammy Triggs, his current love interest. But then, at 17, who had to be choosy? St. Ed's was loaded with hot girls, and even his 12-year-old sister Liz once admitted that her brother was a cheek magnet.
So he's talking about the sex, he's talking about the fact that he's 17, talking about the fact that there's lots of hot girls to have sex with, and that even his sister thinks that he is hot and sexy with the hot and sexy girls.
So we also know from this this part of the book that the dad is away on business. The mom is at the mom is at a Botox party, whatever a Botox party is. Some kind of thing that girls do, I guess.
Yeah, they love it.
And Liz is upstairs doing her homework, and Bill is in the middle of being the worst date ever with this girl. And when the TX goes to terminate Liz, she's described as playing a video game. So is she doing her homework or playing a video game? Is she like totally skiving off, or does she go to the coolest school ever?
I think so. She's playing Math Invaders.
How great would that be?
Back to our two most bland characters, though, John and Kate.
Yeah.
Turns out Kate works at the animal hospital. She barges in on John and traps him in an animal cage.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out they know each other from some party that they both went to in a basement when they were teens.
Yeah, and like it goes on and on, blah, 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 all of this sort of stuff. But this is another disappointment for me, where a plot oddity wasn't described, wasn't given enough explanation in the book. Because I wanted to know why John Connor was carrying a paintball gun.
That's true.
If he's a drifter and he's all running from himself, how come he's also stopping to play paintball?
I reckon maybe because he still needs money for like ciggies and chips and things. I reckon he like goes, "You need your fence painted, mister?" And they give him the money, and then he just like fires his gun at it a few times and then runs away, and they shake their hand and they go, "One day, John Connor, one day in the future, you'll get your judgment."
Oh, that was a good one.
Yeah. Circle of life. And then our first anti-burger scene, in which the TX goes through the Jim's Burgers drive-thru and shoots the cashier in the face. And I say bravo, finally making a stand against gratuitous burger eating in these films.
Well, maybe that's the difference between, the more sort of 80s and 90s books that we've been looking at previously, and this one that I guess was 2003.
Well, this film is about two rockin' hot bods that are naked.
A knockout body.
That just burst in out of nowhere. 10 out of 10 on the old, I can't remember that guy's name. Parsons scale.
Parsons scale, yeah.
Yeah, and no burgers going into those beautiful things.
No.
And then finally, our storylines converge. The TX bursts into the animal hospital and starts just fucking shooting. And she realizes that John is there when she tastes some of his blood that she finds.
Kate watched with open-mouthed amazement and fear. It was almost as if the killer had tasted the blood to see who it was from. But that was crazy. The whole thing was insane. Surreal. It was a nightmare from hell.
That is the worst kind of nightmare.
This was quite odd to me, because that paragraph that we just read out was in the book immediately following a couple of paragraphs describing the heads-up display of the TX, showing the double helix, so it is just absolutely clear to the reader that that's what's happening. And then Kate's like, oh, maybe that's what's happening. What a weird way to write that.
That is true. But you got 450 pages to fill about this thing.
Well, it made me think about that golden rule of writing, show, don't tell. But why just show when you can show and tell?
It's been popular in schools for many years.
Exactly.
Why not? And then Arnold shows up and he starts fighting the TX, and there's this massive action scene, which is long in the film and will no doubt take about 100 pages here.
Yeah.
John, Kate, and Arnold fuck off in the pet van while the TX takes chase.
Terminator turned as TX came towards them, the cyborg's liquid metal skin and clothing peeling back to reveal its formidable battle chassis, armoured with a crystalline ceramic that was interlaced with nanofibers of carbon and titanium. TX's right arm had transformed into the same model of plasma weapon that had been used in Colorado to wipe out the commands of Colonel Earl and Lieutenant Benson. Who the fuck are these people? Why didn't this book come with a cheat sheet or like a diagram with all of these people?
A family tree. Well, they're the future people. So they're saying it's like this thing that hasn't happened yet.
I'm twisting my melon. Reading out these sentences, I hadn't realised when I was reading it, skimming it before, how long they are.
Yeah.
And just relentless.
Action, car chase. TX chases them in a crane, which is actually quite fun in the film.
Yeah, that's my favourite bit.
Boring in the book.
Yeah.
Mainly because it starts with 2 pages of her studying the controls.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you just paste in a manual.
And another thing about the description of the crane chase is that the author constantly refers to the crane as the champion crane, with a capital, champion. Is that a brand name? Like, is he doing product placement here, or is this seriously just padding?
You get those extra words wherever you can. Because it really does go on for tens of pages, and nothing about it at all is exciting. No. It's all very cold and clinical, sort of like a list of happenings rather than anything that makes you feel something.
Yeah.
An example... Terminator knew that she could not possibly miss at this range. Even if he could somehow shove the crane aside at the moment the TX fired, she would fire again and again until she succeeded. Or at the very least, she would simply run over the pet van, crushing John Connor and Catherine Brewster to death. The TX had to be stopped. No shit.
That's what's going on here.
In fact, there are a ton of one sentence stating the obvious paragraphs, like, he could not allow that to happen.
But there was even more at stake than just their lives.
Safe, Terminator thought again, but only temporarily.
And my favourite, I reckon that this was a line copied from the children's picture book here. And you have to read it as if you're reading a book to a 4-year-old. It was Terminator. Somehow he had caught up. It's actually got exclamation marks in the actual book. It was Terminator!
Hey kids, look, if you look out your window right now, you'll see the Terminator being chased by a crane!
Can you see the crane? What noise does a crane make? Although, counter-argument to this.
Okay, I'd like to hear this.
As we have said, it's a very, very long book and a very, very long description of an action sequence which is super hard to write at the best of times. Maybe this is like an actual strategy that he's employing here. So that if you aren't keeping up with what's going on, if you've just totally zoned out, he's put in these little signposts so that you can kind of follow the plot and follow what's happening.
You are generous to a fault, giving this man that credit. The John, Kate, and Arnie, they eventually escape. It's revealed that this is a new model that doesn't remember the events of the other movies. So Arnie doesn't remember... all that Hasta La Vista Baby, all that stuff. It turns out that Judgment Day was only postponed.
Oh, well, that's good. At least all of the clothes that they bought didn't go to waste. I don't know.
All their Judgment Day clothes.
Yeah. Connor sat back, defeated.
They thought they were going to be the Project Runway judges were going to be there.
Make it work. There was no defense against this kind of circular logic. As he had been from the beginning, he was nothing more than a pawn between the machines and humans in some future war, and time travel made anything possible. Or perhaps impossible.
Or perhaps nonsensical?
I reckon this is the author just doing a microphone drop and going, I'm out. This is where the guy gave up. Like, fuck time travel, this is bullshit.
And Arnie cuts a highly volatile fuel cell out of his chest. I'm saying this because it might be important later. And he describes the role of the TX. So she's an anti-Terminator, Connor said, working it out. He shook his head again. This was getting worse, much worse by the minute. You've got to be shitting me, he mumbled. No, Terminator replied. I am not shitting you.
That is my third favourite line in the whole film. The whole film. Alright, in ascending order of preference. Number 3, I am not shitting you. That's.
I am not shitting you.
Number 2, when Kate tells him to drop dead, asshole, and he goes, I am unable to comply. I'm going to use that in real life. That is going right into the databanks. But my number 1, my absolute favourite part of this film, is when they're at the petrol station and the guy behind the counter is trying to get Arnie to pay for all the snacks he's getting for the road trip. And he holds up, Steve, the Terminator, holds up his hand and goes, talk to the hand. That made it all worthwhile for me.
Talk to the hand because the head is not comprehending. And did I mention as well, Kate's still essentially kidnapped throughout all of this. She's not a willing participant.
No, not at all.
She was disgusted. Her loathing dripped from her tongue and attitude like venom. I want to read that line again because it's so funny. Her loathing dripped from her tongue and attitude like venom.
I don't think venom drips from tongues. I think it comes from, like, venom glands and teeth.
Yeah, fangs.
Yeah. Yeah, I could literally do a whole 90-minute podcast on just how super gross all of the gender politics are in this story, both in the film and in the book. But I've already done that a couple of times, so we can just move on. Just take it as read, this is super gross.
And the TX kills Kate's fiancé, and when I'd memorised his resume and height...
She reached over with one hand, almost gently caressing the man's face before she lowered her hand, thrust it deep into his chest, and destroyed his heart before he could utter a sound. He fell back in a bloody heap.
Which is about as intense as the violence gets in this book, which is very disappointing after those first few books we read.
Well, I don't know. When the TX was killing Liz, the video game champion, it was described as the bullet shattering her heart. And I think that's a pretty intense description of killing a 12-year-old.
It sounds metaphorical, though, with the shattering, doesn't it? A bullet's not going to shatter a heart.
I don't know. I haven't done any trials here.
You don't shatter meat, though.
Well, you could if it was frozen in liquid nitrogen.
That is true!
Hey, look.
Maybe she was so ice cold at this game.
Look, with quantum, anything's possible.
That's true. Or trolls.
Trolls.
Yeah, they freeze hearts. Frozen. Just let it go.
Okay, also here. This is the point in the story where John Connor goes all weird because he and Kate are having their heart-to-heart about like whatever they're talking about. And they work out that he and Kate totally hooked up in some guy's basement the day before Judgment, like Terminator 2 happened. So the night before he almost got encapsulated by the Mercury Man.
That word again?
Encapsulated?
Yes, yep.
Sorry.
I like that. The Encapsulator would be a good future robot movie of our own.
Yeah, well, okay, bags it. Nobody else can use it.
Sure.
Yeah, so he's going a bit weird, like, oh no, this was all fated to happen. If the robot hadn't come back, we would totally have made it together, I guess.
Third base.
And he says in the book and in the film at this point, he says, wait, back at the clinic, why did you say Mike Kripke's basement? But I went back to that point in the book, and she does not say Mike Kripke's basement, which, like, fair enough, it's really hard to say, Mike Kripke's basement. She talks about the school, but not Mike Kripke's basement. I don't think this guy even read through the book again once he'd written it.
You are all Snopes on this shit. You are calling him out for some serious blunders.
Look, it is so long. Get it right.
But don't you think when you've got lines like, where was it? And time travel made anything possible, or perhaps impossible, it feels like a stream of consciousness book. Like, it feels like he's just making it up and nothing is being looked at again.
Yeah. Well, there were a couple of things, like, not super important stuff, I guess, but there are a couple of things that was meant to be like a callback to something that happened previously in the book, and it didn't.
Never happened.
It didn't happen.
So Arnie takes them to the cemetery and appears to be desecrating Sarah Connor's coffin. Turned out she died. But her coffin is actually filled with the perfect gift for a young American son. A shit ton of automatic weapons, rocket launchers, grenades.
Cue, 20 pages of description, in detailed description of these.
Oh, he
these
loves
guns.
the guns, doesn't he? Mm-hmm. It's because he writes with startling realism and
technical
prophetic
detail.
stuff.
Yeah.
And John Connor, by this stage, is almost as sick of this shit as we are.
Fuck you, Connor screamed raggedly. You fucking machine.
Yeah. I've seen some videos of fucking machines.
Yeah, did they rise up?
They rise right up in there. I was a bit surprised by the fuck talk here, because the book seems almost like a kid's book up until then, apart from its crazy length.
Yeah, it's not super explicit, is it?
No, it's not at all, especially compared to the other ones. But then it's all, fuck you, fucking machine. And then the SWAT team turns up to the cemetery and there's a big shootout. This is the second of 3 action scenes. The TX shows up again for more big action shenanigans, and Connor learns that Kate is in fact his future wife and mother of his future children. And I think Kate says it best when she says,
"No," Kate moaned, stepping back. Was there no end to this insanity?
I hear you, baby.
But hey, you are roaring through this now, and you're missing all the good bits.
When I'm reading each page in about 5 seconds, I'm not going to catch them all.
But you missed the return of Dr. Silberman.
Oh, Dr. Silberman!
Dr. Silberman!
He was the one that molested Sarah Connor?
Yeah, he's the psychiatrist guy.
In Terminator 2.
And in Terminator 1.
Oh, yeah.
He's been in all 3 of them.
So, what's his deal in this one?
Well, I was excited because in the previous 2, remember, it was just a hotbed of smart person hating descriptions, just cutting into the
I
guy.
can't stand smart people.
Yeah, so I was excited about what stuff was going to come out here.
Yeah, well, the baton has been passed on to Hagberg.
Exactly.
To describe the Dr. Silberman.
A heavy-set man with thinning white hair and a smarmy look on his round face came over. He had a manner that Kate supposed was meant to be comforting. And that's it. That's all we get. And then he runs away. Compare that to in T2, Randall Frake's picture of
Oh, so we've got Randall Frake. We're going back.
Yeah.
This is very meta. We are going back in time to T2.
Exactly. He was comfortably in his element, waxing eloquently about a subject in which he felt expert. It was difficult not to suppress a tendency to flaunt his superior intellect to these callow young men and women, but most of the time he managed it. This was not one of those times. Perhaps his largest failing was that he was a little too clever for his own good.
Just Randall Frakes' writing, just the rhythm of it.
Yeah.
That was just so much more pleasant to hear
Well, there are natural pauses in that. It's not just a whole paragraph sentence.
than the weird guttural sounds we've been making so far.
Yeah, and we didn't find anything out about, Silberman's clipboard or...
No, we just found out he was
Clothes.
smarmy. He was only smarmy because he thought he was so smart.
Yeah.
Right, so they escape again, of course, and they realise that Judgment Day is just 3 hours away, which translates to about 1,000 pages. But Kate wants to go and see her father, General Dad, in these last 3 hours, who works at Cyber Research Systems, or CRS, which he's an hour away from where they are now, which is
Right.
approximately 300 pages.
Good, okay.
And CRS has made T1 battlefield robots and HK Hunter Killer flying drones.
Uh-oh. This isn't science fiction, the narrator assured his audience. It's reality, thanks to our top-secret innovation, Skynet, the revolutionary artificially intelligent battlefield management network.
Listen to that rhythm. That rhythm is like Fozzie Bear when he's going, I've got rhythm, I've got rhythm.
And this isn't science fiction now, with all the drones and whatnot going on at the moment, delivering your parcels and, more terrible things.
Amazon.
Yeah, this isn't really science fiction anymore, is it?
That's true. So in the way, the narrator was actually correct.
Yeah, and in a way, this whole book is correct. Maybe Judgment Day really is inevitable.
I just want them to
It's
get the
topical.
technology before I die to put my consciousness into a computer, put me into World of Warcraft. I'll live in a little cottage in the forest, and like I'll wave at adventurers when they come past and stuff. I don't mind, like, if they want to give me a job handing out quests or something like that. Great.
Yeah.
I would do that.
It sounds pretty good.
And then maybe like...
What are you going to do on your downtime, though?
I just grind like wool or mine or fish.
Grind wool?
Yeah. Like grind.
What is grind wool?
You know, grinding, like when you go out and you like you go into an area where it drops a certain resource and you just
right.
grind.
Sorry, I thought you meant like
It's
in a watering
an MMO term.
Sorry.
No, I meant I'm gonna fuck sheep.
Gonna grind it. Oh boy.
You're a bad man.
Oh boy. We've gone off the rails now.
You know why? Because the systems start crashing all over the place.
Uh-oh.
We are heading for the most anticlimactic Judgment Day ever.
Yeah, but this is all nuclear explosions and killer robots, whereas Judgment Day for me is all cats and dogs living together, mass hysteria.
They're the signs. They are that's in the Bible.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are the signs of the apocalypse. And this is the sort of excitement that is currently happening in the countless pages that occur at the CRS. There has to be a mistake, Brewster said, his stomach sour. He couldn't remember if he'd eaten lunch.
He's multitasking in his mind. Another Brewster point of view gem here. What the hell is going on? Brewster muttered. What indeed?
And the TX infiltrates CRS and sets all of those robots that I mentioned, that's why I mentioned them, into action. The General and co set off Skynet, and the TX attacks, and poor old General Dad is shot anyway.
Connor nodded grimly. He hunched down beside Kate and her father. We have to shut down Skynet, he told the General. Where's the system core? Somewhere in this building? Brewster had trouble digesting what the young man was telling him. It wasn't possible. Who are you? He whispered, the words gurgling in his throat. You can't know about that. Connor grabbed his shoulder. Cut the top secret shit.
That's why they made him the leader, right?
Yeah, because of his sass reflex.
Yeah, that's his leadership ability right there. Cut the top secret shit. Connor has the worst lines in this scene. And another massive, hard-to-follow shootout ensues, this time with even more robots. They realise that they have to go to a bunker called Crystal Peak to survive Judgment Day. And this is how exciting the action is, as the two Terminators finally square off against each other.
Terminator no longer held confidence that he could win this fight. At the beginning, he'd evaluated his chances of disabling the TX at 18.773%. His estimate, based on the new data, was now at 4.331%, with a 14% margin of error.
Titans clash!
And at this point, Steve Terminator, he pushed his big old nerd glasses further up his nose and then made that noise that the scientist in The Simpsons makes, like, I
calculate.
So even though it is completely clear from the absolute beginning of the whole entire thing that Kate and John are going to get together, it's fate, they're going to end up together, because they are the only two characters in this whole book, basically.
It's like Noah's Ark.
It's still important to show the development of this relationship and their feelings towards each other. Kate kept her finger depressed on the trigger, the heavy butt of the assault rifle shoving her backwards almost off her feet. Connor stared open-mouthed at her. He'd not seen anything like that since his mother.
Creepy.
She turned to him, her eyes wild, her chest heaving as she tried to catch her breath. She was covered with grease and oil from the floor near the fire, with black smudges of blowback from the AK-47 and with blood. What? She demanded, still hyper. Nothing, Connor said, spreading his hands. He just reminded me of my mom.
That's what every man wants in his prospective mate.
But again, that repetitiveness. Like, he'd not seen anything like that since his mother. Oh, you just reminded me of my mom.
The book does this really fucking dumb thing as well of Kate is there in those future scenes, but they don't want to reveal it's Kate because that's a reveal later on, so they just keep saying, my wife.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things you can only do in a book.
Yeah.
Like, if that was you're trying to picture it in your head, but you just, like, picture one of those, like, you know, cops TV show blurs over her face until the reveal later on. It's
Yeah.
like, it's really strange. I mean, she's either there and we can see her, or she's not.
Or it's like Charlie Brown, you only see, like, that much of the grown-ups.
Yeah, well, that's how a lot of women appeared in cartoons, with just a set of legs, adult women. TX ends up getting tangled up by a magnetic field in an accelerator tunnel.
Kate stepped out from behind the magnet and stood behind Connor, watching what was happening to the monster. "Just die!" she screeched, not able to take any more. "You bitch!"
Do you think Kate is embarrassed about this when they reminisce about it in the future? Like, you can imagine her going, "Oh my God, and do you remember when I just blurted out, 'Just die, you bitch'?" Talk about stating the obvious. I was such a stupid asshole back then.
No, she's just representing. She's showing off her Molly Weasley fangirl status. Yep.
So Kate and John realise they have to take a plane to Crystal Peak, but Terminator has been reprogrammed by the TX and attacks them. Mm-hmm. Connor tried to scramble away from Terminator, who was right on top of him. "You can't do this." "I have no choice," Terminator said, his voice still badly distorted. "The TX has corrupted my system. I put this in because I just love that in the film. There's Schwarzenegger, a grown man, standing there kind of shaking like, "I'm a computer and something is malfunctioning." And he says those words. He goes, "The TX has corrupted my system," while he's right. And I just thought this is just the funniest thing for an adult to have to do.
When he has that tantrum and bashes the hood of the car.
It's so silly.
Laughs so hard. But okay, plot hole.
Another one.
I mean, we're getting back to what I was talking about right at the beginning.
I really like you eviscerating this fucking thing.
So in the first crane car chase thing, the TX somehow, like, hacks police cars and can control them remotely. So she's driving along in the crane, and there are other police cars bashing into the Terminator and John and Kate. Firstly, how is that possible? I don't think cars are, like, hooked up to Wi-Fi. I don't think you can hack them.
In 2003? Probably not.
No? And if she can do that, if she can, like, hack into a car, how come she didn't just do that straight into the Terminator at the beginning?
Just get him to, like, push John in front of a bus or something.
Yeah, if she has the power to control machines remotely, or even, like, just sort of by proximity, how come that wasn't the first thing that she did? Because
Hagberg had 450 pages to fill, and the filmmaker had 83 minutes.
Yeah, so true. And this is where I'm calling back to where we were talking about the cars.
The old Radiator Springs situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, this is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Those cop cars. Maybe she wasn't controlling them. Maybe that was
the first uprising.
Yep, that was Lightning McQueen in his previous job.
Yeah, well, liquid metal, he can turn into any kind of car he wants.
Exactly.
But the heroic Terminator, noble to the end, shuts himself down rather than kill John Connor.
Connor got to his feet, a great sadness and weariness coming over him as he stared at the closest thing to a father he had ever known. Terminator was dead.
The father thing feels like a bit of a stretch, but anywho, he's more like a kind of irresponsible uncle.
Yeah. So, like, this isn't a problem with the book necessarily, but with the whole story. I don't really get the point of this. Is this meant to be something really deep and profound about the nature of humanity and the consciousness and, like, why do all of these human characters constantly go around trying to make the robots feel human emotions? And they're all, "I'm a robot. I literally cannot feel emotions." Why is John Connor so angry about this robot not feeling emotions? And then to turn around and have the robot kind of feel emotions. Or at least it's portrayed in that way, like he's making a conscious choice to save John.
It's kind of like trying to get a toaster to iron a shirt.
Exactly, that's the metaphor that I was thinking.
But in this thing, the toaster would actually go, alright. And then at the end, you've got this crisp shirt and a plate of toast.
Yeah, and
sounds pretty good.
Crumbs in the pocket.
Yeah, that's true. And at work, you're like, "Toaster!" As you're rifling through the...
Yeah, I don't know what the take-home message for T3 is. Like, this is a serious thing. I'm not making a joke here. I honestly just don't understand it. So if anybody has any theories about that, that might be a good thing for the Facebook page, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know what the take-home message either is. Yeah, is either. I can't speak. That's my problem.
Is either.
So Kate and John get to the deserted Crystal Peak, but TX crashes in on a helicopter as even the film needs to pad out here and adds another climax showdown to its showdown climax.
Yep. And the climax of them rifling through a code book and like hurriedly punching in the numbers. Oh,
dramatic
the tension,
typing.
the tension. The TX showing up here was the one thing Connor knew that he should have counted on, but had not. Kate was losing it. The TX had become her worst nightmare.
Yeah, prior to that, her worst nightmare was eating a giant marshmallow and waking up to find that her pillow was gone.
So in the hierarchy of nightmares, what are the relative positions of worst nightmare and nightmare from hell?
Again, I refer to the Parsons scale. And then another helicopter crashes in, and it's Steve Terminator this time.
Hey.
Second verse, same as the first, except this time the solution is permanent.
He turned and fixed him with a baleful gaze. "You are terminated," he told her. Do you get it? Terminated.
No, I don't understand that, but go on.
Terminator crushed the fuel cell to rupture it and thrust it into the TX's mouth, driving it in deep into her throat. "Eat me," Terminator said, and the fuel cell erupted with a tremendous explosion.
Now, if that's not a metaphor,
Yeah, tell me about it.
I don't know what is. Whew. And nuclear war happens. And this is the ending.
And note how, for the whole of this 3 million page novel, it's been in third person, but just suddenly and inexplicably, it's become first person.
I know, I had to reread it. I reread that bit because I was like, oh, has he introduced first person into this suddenly? Like, no.
Just flicks over in a paragraph.
I should have realised the Terminator knew. He tried to tell us, but I didn't want to hear it. Our destiny was never to stop Judgment Day. It was merely to survive it together.
Above, in the tunnel, a wind began to howl, fanning the dying flames from the wreckage of the helicopters, sending desert sand under the blast doors to scour the burnt remains of the two Terminators.
There are others like us. We will find them and join together, take back our world.
Terminator's skull was crushed almost beyond recognition. Wires and hydraulics and processor chips were exposed.
But there was still a faint red glow in one eye.
Maybe the future has been written. I don't know. All I know is that what the Terminator told me.
Never stop fighting, and I never will.
A tiny electric circuit in Terminator's skull shorted out.
The battle has just begun, Connor thought. Now we're back to third person.
The wind in the tunnel was very strong now and radioactive with early fallout. But Terminator was no longer aware of anything. The faint glow in its eye died. And that faint is spelled F-E-I-N-T.
Even though it's spelt correctly when they talk about the faint red glow literally about 4 sentences ago.
Yep.
Wow.
Alright. Well, that's the end, but I got one more eye roll moment here.
Yes.
This stupid romantic pairing, John and Kate. They have zero chemistry and they barely say 3 words to each other, really, throughout the whole thing. They have, 2 scenes where they actually talk to each other, other than when he's kidnapping her, and John actually says to her that she reminds him of his mother, and says it with no sense of shame, either. Just, yep.
I always feel like she's kind of an uptown girl, and he's sort of like a
bit of rough.
downtown guy, you know?
Downtown guy, yeah. And now they are stuck in a fallout bunker.
Yeah.
So they are literally the only 2 people left in their fallout bunker world together.
They are the only penis and vagina in the world.
Yep.
We've already had this theory. What do people do in the apocalypse?
Yep, what else are you going to do?
Turns out...
What a depressing love story that is.
It's pretty bleak. So I gotta ask you, as I always ask at this point, was the book better?
I'm not even going to pretend to think about this. It made me so angry in many, many places.
So, yes, I am also a big no.
There was a lot of it, though.
That's true. What it lacked in quality, it certainly made up for in sheer audacious quantity.
And to be fair, it's very hard, it's very difficult, I'm sure, to write action, and this film is 95% action scenes. So fair props to him for trying.
For padding it out with sexism.
Yeah.
And we turn to Amazon. 2 reviews. Nothing great. But now you... Well, look, here we go. See what you think of this. I have to note one major mistake in the storyline from the book. Both in the book and in the movie, the Terminator tells John and Kate, I'm using the wrong voice, that Kate sent him back, not John, as the future John was dead. However, the book clearly shows the future John Connor sending the Terminator back through time right in the beginning chapters. Unless there is something I'm missing here, that's a pretty bad blunder. On a positive note, it's still fun to read.
Man, that was a spot-on impression of me right then.
So, you picked it. You picked it really early on. This guy on Amazon.
Yeah.
He knew the score.
Yeah.
I didn't pick it.
You...
Because I
Did
was skimming.
This is the book that I have read the least of.
I was skimming like a pebble on a pond. And one more. This book is the most thrilling and exciting book ever. It has awesome details to show the reader what is happening in the scene, combined with an already spectacular plot. This book is awesome and deserves all the compliments it gets.
Probably not.
The book tells an awesome story, has an amazing events that will keep the reader reading intensely.
Not true.
The movie was also great, but I think that reading the book before the movie sort of ruined the ending. But all in all, it was okay. I would recommend this book to anyone who likes to read and is a fan of the Terminator series and those who like the Governor of California.
That's beautiful.
Someone that's only read 3 books in their life. And they were Terminator books. No, they can't have even been Terminator books, because if they had read the other ones, they wouldn't be saying this was the book, best book ever.
The movie was also great, but I think that reading the book before the movie sort of ruined the ending.
This is the most thrilling and exciting book ever. Okay, I've never done this before.
Yeah.
If this person that wrote the Amazon review and can prove that it's them can contact me via the Facebook or whatever, I will send me their address. I will send them a good book to read. I will blow their fucking mind.
You'll challenge them.
With a real book from a real author, and they're going to see if this was still the most thrilling and exciting book ever.
Just make sure it's not one that will spoil the ending of a film
That's
for them.
true. Maybe they might be shocked to learn there are some books that don't have films.
What?
Can't be that good, I suppose, if no one wanted to make a film out of them. But still.
Wow.
I will do that. If that Amazon, I will buy you a book. You poor fucking desperate bastard. Well, there we go. That was T3, Rise of the Machines, eventually.
Hey, and look, that probably wasn't much longer than the Jumanji episode.
No, that's true. That's true. We get there in the end. We were able to have those diversions. So, I want to do some pluggy McPluggerson things.
Oh, yeah? Tell me what's going on.
I want to really plug the other podcasts as well. This is actually the first week where all 3 podcasts go out in 1 week, which is insane.
Whoa, are you sure that this is going to be okay? Is this one of the signs of the apocalypse?
No, just the cats and the dogs living together, I think. But if you missed FPcast yesterday, we review Snowpiercer, Lucy, Postman Pat the movie, and we talk about the most embarrassing celebrities that we admit that we would sleep with. Confession time. Nice. We surprised each other a lot. I think I had the grossest one, though. And on Scarjo A Go-Go on Thursday, it's episode 5, if you can believe that. And you did the amazing theme song for that, which I absolutely love. I've been hearing people give me some great feedback about that.
Oh, thank you.
And it's a weird episode. It's a twofer. It is Manny. It's not Manny and Lowe. I always think about Manny and Lowe. That was the only good film so far. It is Fall. She's got a 3-second cameo in Fall by Eric Schaefer.
Wow.
And because it was only 3 seconds, I also threw in Home Alone 3, which has been done on The Book Was Better before.
Oh, interesting.
But I do this from a very Scar-centric perspective.
From memory, the Home Alone 3 one was fairly... it had a lot of Scarlet in it too. The Book Was Better episode.
Did it? That was the one I did by myself. I have a really little memory of it apart from playing it to Suzanne and her going, that episode made me really uncomfortable. Because it was really, like, manic and just insane. But ScarJo Go-Go is actually, it is the Tweed Elbow Patch, a Scarlett Johansson podcast.
Yeah, this is true.
So definitely get on those. And above all, I feel like a fucking donkey continuing to ask people to rate and review on iTunes. Because I just checked. And each time, we're lucky to get, like, one a fortnight. You think, I know we've got more than one listener. Like, just fucking do it. Stop fucking around. And just, like, you don't even have to write a review or just say, it's great, I love it, or whatever. But just give us the 5 fucking stars. It's not for, like, ego stroking. It's so that it turns up in searches and so that people see it and it's on the charts and people can find it. You dumb motherfuckers. Rate the fucking show.
And also, leave a comment saying that it is the most thrilling and exciting podcast ever.
That you've ever read.
And it deserves all the compliments spelt incorrectly it gets.
You just cut and paste something from something
just
else.
Cut and paste this person's Amazon review.
Fucking lazy. Alright, so go and see all those things and join the discussion on our discussion group, which is called, deep breath, The Book Was Better, FPcast, ScarJo Go discussion. It's on Facebook. It's a lot of fun.
Maybe say that again for people who have zoned out by now.
And then just press that little 10-second rewind thing a couple of times on your iDevice.
You're so belligerent. Just say the name again.
The Book Was Better, FPcast, ScarJo Go discussion. Okay, Lizzy, it is always an absolute pleasure. That's why these episodes are always long with you, because I don't want you to go.
It's having so much fun.
That's right. Just riffing.
Riffing.
Anything you want to,
No.
Let's get the fuck out.
Yeah, alright.
Catch
Microphone drop.
you. Yeah, catch you.
On the flips.